Most people assume that if you don't watch football, there's something wrong with you. They call you boring, unpatriotic, out of touch. But what if the truth is the opposite? What if people who don't watch football aren't missing out, but choosing something deeper? Today, we're exploring the psychology of people who don't watch football and what their behavior quietly reveals about how their minds work. Stay until the end because the final insight explains why these individuals often feel misunderstood, yet unusually independent. 1. They resist collective identity. Football is more than a game. It's a shared identity, colors, chants, rivalries. For many people, supporting a team becomes part of who they are. But people who don't watch football tend to resist collective identity. Psychologically, they are less motivated by group belonging and more driven by personal meaning. They don't feel the need to borrow identity from a team, a club, or a crowd. This doesn't make them antisocial, it makes them self-defined. They prefer to decide who they are internally instead of inheriting an identity externally. 2. They disengage from emotional programming. Football is emotional by design. The highs, the heartbreaks, the weekly cycles of hope and disappointment. People who don't watch football often unconsciously opt out of emotional programming. They are less attracted to repetitive emotional stimulation that doesn't directly improve their lives. Instead of riding the emotional roller coaster of wins and losses, they invest their emotional energy elsewhere, into learning, creating, thinking, or solitude. This doesn't mean they lack emotion, it means they guard it carefully. 3. They question social defaults. In many societies, football is the default. You're expected to watch it, expected to know the players, expected to care. People who don't watch football tend to question defaults. Psychologically, they are more likely to ask, do I actually enjoy this, or am I just expected to? This mindset often extends beyond sports. They question traditions, social norms, unwritten rules. They don't rebel loudly, they simply disengage quietly. 4. They value time differently. Watching football requires time, hours every week, entire seasons. People who don't watch football are often highly aware of how time is spent. They feel the weight of wasted hours more intensely. Instead of dedicating time to games with no personal return, they redirect it toward activities that feel mentally nourishing. Reading, working on skills, exploring ideas, resting intentionally. To them, time isn't something to fill, it's something to invest. 5. They are less status-oriented. Football culture is filled with status signals. Who supports the biggest team? Who knows the most stats? Who predicted the score? People who don't watch football tend to care less about social status that comes from shared interests. They don't gain validation from being in the know. Their self-worth isn't built on cultural participation, it's built on personal standards. This makes them harder to impress and harder to manipulate. 6. They often feel socially isolated but not lonely. One hidden consequence of not watching football is social friction. Conversations stop, invitations feel awkward, jokes go over their heads. Psychologically, these individuals often feel isolated but not lonely. They're comfortable in their own company. They would rather experience brief disconnection than force interest in something that doesn't resonate. And while they may be misunderstood, they rarely feel empty. 7. They are internally stimulated minds. Football provides external stimulation, noise, drama, conflict. People who don't watch football often have internally stimulated minds. They think deeply, daydream, analyze. They don't need constant external input to feel engaged. Silence doesn't scare them. Stillness doesn't bore them. In fact, that's where their mind comes alive. 8. Why they're often judged harshly. Society struggles with people who opt out, not because opting out is wrong, but because it forces others to question their own choices. When someone doesn't watch football, it subtly asks a dangerous question. Why do you care so much? That discomfort often turns into judgment. Labels are easier than introspection. People who don't watch football aren't anti-fun, they aren't arrogant, they aren't disconnected. They simply choose autonomy over conformity. They build identity from within. They protect their attention. They invest time deliberately. And in a world that profits from distraction, that choice is quietly powerful. If this resonated with you, you're not alone. You were just wired differently.